They say stone cannot cry, but across Europe's ancient churches and cathedrals, there are stories of statues that weep, tears of water, tears of oil, sometimes even tears of blood. To some, they are miracles, messages from heaven. To others, they are illusions, tricks of humidity, chemistry, or belief. But whatever the truth, these weeping statues have haunted the human imagination for centuries, and their mystery begins in the heart of the medieval world. In the Middle Ages, faith was everything. It shaped kings and peasants alike, dictated law and art, life and death. People lived in a world where the divine felt close, where every storm, every illness, every dream might be a message from God. So when a statue began to cry, people didn't question it. They fell to their knees. The earliest accounts come from crumbling parchment, monastery records written by candlelight. In the 14th century, in a small chapel on the coast of France, monks recorded a vision that shook their faith and their reason. A wooden crucifix, they said, had begun to weep, first one tear, then another, until the face of Christ glistened as if alive. When the tears stopped, war soon followed. To them, the message was clear. Heaven was mourning what was to come. Across medieval Europe, such stories spread like wildfire. In Poland, it was said that a statue of the Virgin bled from her eyes before an invasion. In Italy, a stone Madonna wept on the eve of plague. To the faithful, these were not coincidences. They were divine warnings. But miracles often invite skepticism. Even in the medieval world, not everyone believed. Some whispered that humidity in the cold stone could draw moisture to the surface. Others claimed tricksters used hidden channels of oil or colored wax to deceive the faithful. Still, even the skeptics couldn't explain why, in some cases, entire communities swore they had witnessed it together. One of the most famous stories came centuries later in 1953 in the Sicilian city of Syracuse. A small plaster statue of the Virgin Mary, hanging above a couple's bed, began to shed real tears. Neighbors rushed in, priests followed, and the entire neighborhood witnessed it. Scientists tested the liquid. It was found to have the same chemical composition as human tears. To this day, the Catholic Church recognizes it as a genuine miracle. But what if we go further back, to the Middle Ages, when these events carried far deeper meaning? A crying statue wasn't just a sign of sorrow, it was a warning. When a crucifix in Bohemia was said to weep blood before the Black Death, people believed the heavens were grieving for humankind. When a Madonna wept in Spain before a famine, the faithful saw it as both mercy and mourning. And yet, for every believer, there was a skeptic. Centuries later, scientists would return to these sites, bringing microscopes and sensors, seeking answers hidden in the stone. Some tears turned out to be condensed water, drawn through tiny pores by the capillary effect, the same process that lets trees pull water upward through their trunks. Others were found to contain wax or oil, placed there by human hands. But not all could be explained. In some shrines, even when the statues were sealed behind glass, the tears returned. In one case in Germany, a 15th century carving continued to exude clear droplets despite being placed in a climate-controlled room. The moisture came from within the wood, yet there was no internal reservoir, no mechanism, no trick, as if the material itself remembered grief. What fascinates historians most isn't whether the statues truly wept, but why people needed to believe they did. In an age of suffering, war, and plague, tears were a form of hope. If heaven could cry, then heaven could care. Each tear was a bridge, a small, shining link between the divine and the dying. Pilgrims traveled hundreds of miles to see them. Chroniclers described crowds gathered in candlelight, praying, singing, sobbing. Children touched the tears, believing them to heal sickness. Monks collected the droplets in glass vials, locking them away as relics of the miraculous. And though centuries have passed, the mystery endures. Modern Europe still whispers of weeping statues in Ireland, Italy, and beyond. Each time, the same questions rise. Is it faith, fraud, or something in between? In 1995, a statue in the town of Civitavecchia, near Rome, began to shed red tears. Blood, The test confirmed human blood. When questioned, the family who owned it swore they had done nothing. The Vatican launched an investigation, and the official conclusion, unexplained. Perhaps, in the end, it doesn't matter whether the statues truly cry. What matters is what they make us feel. A tear, real or imagined, holds power. Power to unite, to comfort, to warn. The medieval people understood that. They didn't see science and mystery as enemies. They saw them as threads in the same tapestry. To them, the world was alive with meaning. A statue's tear wasn't just water. It was the universe speaking in symbols. Even now, when we look at those ancient faces, the worn stone eyes, the chipped lips, it's easy to imagine life behind them. The faint shimmer of moisture, a tear catching the light, a sign that the past still breathes. Maybe the true miracle isn't in marble or metal, but in the human heart, in our endless need to believe that even the coldest stone can feel sorrow for us. Because sometimes faith begins where reason ends, and every tear, whether from heaven or from earth, reminds us that mystery still lives among us. So next time you walk into an old church, where the air smells of wax and rain, look closely at the statues, the saints, the Madonnas, the crucifixes. And if you see a glimmer, a drop that shouldn't be there, ask yourself, is it the damp air, or the echo of a miracle? Because in the stillness of Europe's cathedrals, some say the stone still remembers, and sometimes it weeps.